Hello and welcome to the WhatLeighMakes YouTube channel. My name's Leigh. Today's date is the 10th of September 2024. Today's video is my podcast, my roundup for August of 2024. I am late, but I've been really good at making sure I've kept all of the things that I've already finished or done in September separate to what I did in August. I feel very organised. This pile says otherwise. It looks really chaotic. I know that I'm really late filming this video, so I've just sort of chucked everything to one side to film. I have some knitting, some yarn dyeing, and some batik printing, batik waxing. I don't really know what the correct term is, but I had a little dabble with batik fabric, which I really enjoyed. As a disclaimer, I have done quite a bit of sewing in August. I realised towards the end of August that we were in late August and I've got quite a few fabrics for Halloween. And if I didn't get them cut and sewn very quickly, it would be another year before they would be bothered with, sewn up, worn. So I have been doing quite a bit of sewing. I won't show the sewing today, purely because I've done lots of cutting out, lots of shoulders and side seams being sewn, but not finished. And to show them today and then show them finished next time just seems a little bit excessive. So as a heads up, there are finished objects and a whole load of sewing coming your way in September's podcast, whenever that goes up. So finished objects. I have finished 2 pairs of socks. I am very excited. This is my August pair of socks. I'm trying to knit a pair of socks a month. I think July might have been the first time I actually finished a pair that month. Check the previous podcast for that. So I felt very smug and I was determined to do it again. So, no, I think June. I think I finished June's socks in June. I think. But these are August socks. The hot pink is West Yorkshire Spinner's signature 4-ply in, I want to say Sarsaparilla. I think it is something like that. Is that hot pink West Yorkshire Spinner signature 4-ply, and then the pattern yarn is Stylecraft Head over Heels, Walking in Nature in the, I want to say Stride colourway. I will try to remember to pop the information down below. I'm really bad at remembering, but I will try. It's just another sock, 2.5mm needles, 64 stitches, 2x2 rib. I knit whatever I think for the leg. I tend to just put it against my calf and kind of see roughly where I'm happy with. A slip stitch heel flap and gusset. Knit the foot, and then I think it's just a rounded toe in the contrast yarn too. In the ball, the pink looked an exact match to this. When I was knitting it, I realised it wasn't. The contrast is slightly brighter and this one's slightly sort of darker. So I just deliberately made sure that they weren't next to each other. Like I wanted to make sure this wasn't up here. So it's not overly noticeable. It is a little bit frustrating. Sometimes it looks perfect. I'd seen it in daylight. I thought it was a perfect match. But it's not always the same when you're actually knitting. That's okay. So finished those, very excited. And then once I finished August socks, I then wanted to have a little look through at previous month socks. I think these were my July colourway. These are Stylecraft Head over Heels, Walking in Nature in I think this one's the Dilly Dally colourway. I really like this. The contrast orange, again, isn't an exact match to this. Again, this one is slightly brighter and this one's slightly darker. But again, like, as long as it's not too close, that one is, because you've got the orange stripe and then the toe, but that'll be in my shoes. I think I'll get away with it. It's not a bad match, it's not perfect, but it isn't too noticeable. These are my July socks. I think I knit one full sock, and I think off the top of my head I was somewhere in the foot. I don't know exactly where, but I think I was somewhere in the foot on the second sock, so I hadn't got a whole lot to do. Exactly the same pattern as before, same needles, etc. I think in my previous podcast I had said that I wasn't a huge fan of the gauge. It seemed a little bit loose. I was contemplating changing needle size for that same yarn. I didn't. I used 2.5mm needles, 64 stitches. For both, hoping they'll be okay. I really like these. Those are very much my colours, but this was really fun. I thought it was really summery, and then when I was knitting it, a friend said that they look quite autumnal. So, I don't know. But they're pretty. I like them. So I've got 2 completed pairs of socks for the year. Very exciting. If you've seen my whip rounder video, you'll know how many pairs of socks I still need to finish. We'll do it. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. Staying on the yarn theme, this is just a whole hot mess here. It is slightly off camera, so I don't feel quite so bad, but I can see it's annoying. So I am part of the Weavers Spinners Dyers Guild, and we did a natural dye day in August. It's an annual thing. I did do it last year. So I obviously prepped loads of yarn. I bought 100% Highland wool from Chester Wool Company. This is all undyed. It's all mordanted, undyed. I've just been leaving it to hang with everything else. And then I'll skein it. I'll label it, skein it. No, I'll skein it, label it, and pop it away, because it can be used for dyeing another time. Oh, okay. I have a whole load of yarn to talk through today. I have some minis from the natural dye day last year. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I have used the same base, so I could potentially do something with them together. These are, as you can tell, not skeined, not wound, nothing. They have been hanging out. I'm pretending I'm letting them completely dry out before I skein them, label them and put them away, so that I can get away with them not being put away. But I figured I'd show them in skein in this form, and then I'll label them and tidy them up and stuff and pop them away. They need to go in my Ravelry stash too. So they were all dyed using natural dyes. I will try and tell you what dye I used for what. Have got notes down here, that's why I'm looking. So I have labelled the cable ties. I used cable ties with them. It's just a matter of figuring out which one's which. So I think this one's number 9. So I think this is... Oh, I don't know. I actually can't read my writing. Okay, I'll come back to that one. I probably should have planned ahead. It'd been really good if I'd already labelled them, wouldn't it? But I wanted to get this filmed while I got a chance. This is 13. So this is Madder. This is round 2. So I think off the top of my head, the first time you use Madder, it gives quite a reddish colour, and then the second time it brings out the oranges. So this is the second load of Madder, or the second round with Madder. So it is a really beautiful orange, really pretty. I have mainly done 20 gram skate minis. I don't know what they're going to be. They are all the same base, so I'm open to suggestions. I've got some from last year too. I also did dye day, same yarn base. So I'm hoping they could all go in together if I needed them to. So that was dyed with madder. This was also dyed with madder, so that works out really well. This is also the second round of madder. There is a colour difference. Yeah, it does show on screen. Although they're both, I think they were both doing the same dye bath, but I think one might have been in longer than the other, because this one is darker than that one. But I thought that was really pretty. It was interesting to see the difference. Three is Brazil wood, which is this really beautiful, like, for me it was kind of I don't know what sort of red I'd say. It's definitely a red. I think on screen it looks a lot more burgundy, but in real life it is quite red. But that's really pretty. That was with Brazil wood. This one is this really fun colour. It's not quite like, it's too dark to be like a fawny browny colour, but it's too yellow to be a browny colour. So it's kind of like a golden colour. It does show fairly well, I think. That's really pretty. This was 10. Fuchsia, which I think somebody had a fuchsia plant in their garden. I think they'd bought, I don't know what part of it they'd used, but they just said that it'd be fun to see what happens with the yarn. It's okay. I much prefer, like, I really like madder, I have to say. This one might be another madder. 3. Oh no, this is Brazil wood. It's really pretty. It's a much paler orange. It's showing more of like a corally colour on screen. But yeah, it's pretty. I like that. I'll try and open back to that one. This is Fresh Japanese Indigo Leaf. There wasn't a lot of it, so the colour potentially isn't as strong as it could be. But it is a really, it's not picking up on camera, it's a really beautiful, very pale green. I know it doesn't look, no, it's not being picked up very well on camera. But that's really pretty. And that one I actually helped prepare. I think they bought the plant in. It wasn't very big, but they bought the plant in and we prepared it there with like white vinegar and cold water, very cold water. I think it got to come from the fridge. And that was really fun to enjoy that side of the process. I've done natural dye-in, as I say, last year of my gold, but people don't know what they're doing. Had already done all of the hard work and they just bought the dye water fermented with plants and whatever in bottles and stuff, so it was literally just pour it into saucepans and chuck yarn in and it's good to go. I hadn't been involved in the prep side of stuff. I have got some cochineal which I'd like to dye or use to dye at some point, I've dabbled with dyeing, but not very much, and I definitely do prefer acid dyes. They're a lot more reliable and they're far easier to do. But natural dyeing's a fun skill anyway. This was called Don't Know, because I think it was just labelled as DNO, I don't know. So I actually don't know. No one seems to know what this is. It's a really beautiful sort of quite neutral, quite creamy colour. Quite beigey colour. It doesn't show brilliantly well on camera, but it's pretty. Whatever that might have been caused, dyed with. This is silver birch bark. Again, it's a nice neutral. It is quite creamy. Although it's probably quite yellow. It's quite creamy yellow, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. This one might be another madder. Ooh. I think this is number 1. I think this is madder, but it's the first batch. So this, I can't remember if it's the first or second batch, is meant to give it quite red tones, then the other one's meant to give it quite orange, but I think all of my madder ones turned out quite orangey, which is okay. I'd really like to dye it and get a red from it, but that's pretty. This was dyed with henna, which is a really beautiful browny colour. I really like that. Yeah. And this is dyed with onion skin. Beautiful. It's a really beautiful yellow. It's a browny yellow, but it's very... It might come across slightly more yellow on camera, but it's not too inaccurate with the colour. So I really like this. It was in the biggest pot that there was. So I did this one. I'd left it for quite a while. And then I wanted to dye a garment quantity, because I know what I could do with that. I wanted to make a t-shirt. I don't really know what to do with all the minis, but obviously I can't dye garment quantities in every colour, or in every bath. So I decided to go with the onion skin because it was the one that we had the most of, and I obviously needed quite a bit. So I dyed 3 100-gram skeins in the onion colour. And although it's okay, I'd have much preferred it this sort of colour as opposed to this. I think this would be better against my skin than this one. So I'm not going to say I don't love it, but I'd have preferred it far more vibrant. I think this went in quite near the start, and it was in for quite a while. I put this in probably about 2-ish. And we were going to pack up we needed to be out by 4. So ideally pack up about 3:30-ish. Especially as there was like loads of us there. They started packing up really early. They started packing up at 3. So I left it as long as I could, but I didn't think it had long enough. I did take the water home, and I did have to buy saucepans to be able to dye the yarn myself. So I bought it home wet, went out and bought saucepans, put the water in the saucepans, and carried on trying to dye it, but it still isn't. I was fairly exhausted, I think. So I don't know whether or not I wanted to knit a t-shirt of some description. I still do. I just don't know whether to try and get some more, whether to try and over dye it again with more onion skin and try and get the colour that I actually want, or whether to just roll with it and dye it, and knit it as it is. I haven't decided, but that should be a t-shirt at some point. That one's the onion skin. Love the onion skin one. Okay, so we've had... Okay, so I think this is number 8 because this hasn't come up. This is almond bark. There's not a lot to say. It's quite a yellowy colour. That's quite accurate, I think. Yeah, that's almond bark. Still can't read what this one says. It's really frustrating. I will try and find out, and if I remember, I'll try and find out what it was, and then I'll mention it in the next podcast. I literally don't know what it says, but it gave this really beautiful pale pink colour that I really, really like. There wasn't a lot of this. Otherwise, I'd have been really tempted to have done my t-shirt quantity in that. So that is the yarn dyeing that I've done. I don't know what I plan to do with the minis. I have got more, as I say, that I dyed last year on the same base. So my thinking is they could go in a project together if I wanted them to. But I don't really know. I wanted to use 100% wool because I didn't know whether nylon would affect the colour. I thought wool would be the best thing to use. But I don't really know what to do with minis. So if you have any ideas, I kind of like the idea of using them all together in something, purely because they've all been naturally dyed, but equally I'm open to any suggestions anyone may have. They need to go on my Ravelry stash, and I also need to stash the ones that I dyed last year. Oh, and there's also this left. So this is also from the Fresh Japanese Indigo leaf thing. I got myself into a real pickle because there wasn't much of the water. I was trying to split a mini so that I didn't have full 20 grams because that was a lot of wool, a lot of yarn for what was there, especially as other people wanted to use it. But I got myself really stressed out because trying to take yarn off a skein without a Swift is really difficult. So I chipped in what I could, and then towards the end I figured once people had taken theirs out, I just figured I'd chuck an actual 20 gram skein in and it would be what it would be. Because a lot of this is just little bits because I had to keep breaking the yarn. So I've got some undyed wool and some dyed wool, and I'm just in the throat. I was trying to untangle them and pull them up and whatever, but it was really annoying me. So I've just chucked it to one side, out of the way. And then finally, I have done a little bit of batik. Oh no, this is a cheat because I have some of my tea. This is in The Perfect Cuppa mug. This was from B&M. It might have been Home Bargains, but I think B&M. A couple of years ago, it was part of their sort of festive Christmas kind of stocking filler tap range. But if you can see, it has like different like a colour wheel almost of tea. So there's like essentially water, milk, then tea bag, and then classic fake tanned, builder's brew, and basically coffee. I currently have some Earl Grey. Very nice. So this is a cheat. I had actually done this What month am I filming? So I'm filming August podcast. So this has actually been done in July, and I totally forgotten to include it. So I figured I'd just chuck it in until August. It didn't really matter. I went to a workshop. It was a couple of hours long to do batik. But I don't know whether it's batik waxing, batik printing, or whether it is literally just referred to as batik. But she gave you a piece of material, and then you used batik. No, you used wax and drew whatever you fancied onto it, and then that prevented the paint stuff, dye stuff, going wherever you put your wax, and then you have paintbrushes and stuff, and you sort of use whatever colours you wanted and sort of painted over it. You could do it all one colour, or you could use various colours. And then I think you ironed, obviously you covered it, and then you used a hot iron over it, because then the heat from the iron would melt the wax onto the newspaper and take it off your material. I think that was how it was done. So this was like my trial run, just to sort of get a feel for it, see how to hold the instruments and stuff. It was really fun. I thought, she said you could do whatever with it, and I said I was probably going to make it into a bookmark because I enjoy reading. So I just went with various colours that I kind of liked and wanted to see what they looked like, and then I just sort of did dots and scribbles and anything and everything just to get an idea. So I really like that. She gave me this too, and I think the intention was that I was going to back. If I remember right, I think I was going to back it. And I remember saying I was probably going to laminate it to keep it safe. But I do need to find a laminator. If you can laminate fabric, I don't know. And then my main piece, I did this. I think it goes that way. Which is just patterns. I made it to go in the frame. It needs to be re-ironed, as you can see. It's a little bit squiffy. But I've made it to go. I wanted to put it in a frame and then put it somewhere in the lounge. I just did a combination of things. I like my plants, so I wanted green. And I really like how this green has turned out. It's sort of darker in the middle and then gets lighter further out. I've put quite a bit of brown in too, again, because of the plants. I also have wood table, wood bookcases. My lounge is magnolia white, wood brown, and then grey. So I wanted to translate that. I did a couple of random dots and dashes and spots, and then these I did because I thought they looked a bit like leaves. That was what I was going for. And the same here too. So I sort of just played around. I played around with colour. I really I don't know if you'd be able to pick it up, but in this brown section there's little splotches of pink. That isn't intentional. That was just the way when I was painting the brown, and then I think it was from being watered down a little bit more, it turned got pink coming through, which was really interesting. So yeah, it needs another iron, but that's what I also did. I think that's everything off the top of my head. I've definitely done more, but I know that I did that early September, so I'm not allowed to discuss anything else. The sewing stuff is coming. I'd just rather have, I think it might be a bumper podcast for sewing content in September's podcast when that's done. I will also just note, I know this should go into September's podcast, but I'm filming it 10 days late anyway. I am contemplating taking part in the Steve West MKAL 2024 Go Dynamo. I have ordered some yarn. I've never done MKAL before. I really wanted to, I think last year and possibly even the year before, but it's having that time commitment. for it. Again, it's the same this year. I don't know whether or not I've really got the time. I think last year I was definitely going to do it. I got the yarn. I'd already got the yarn in stash, and I still have, and I'd still like to knit it at some point. But I knew that I didn't have the time, so I sort of waited for the cleats to come out because I knew that I wouldn't keep up anyway. And then obviously last year there was a whole load of issues with, I think it was clue 1, like right at the start, and that kind of put me off a little bit. I know it's an isolated incident and it is nothing against Stephen West at all. Patterns look amazing, like his designs are amazing, but that sort of put me off joining in last year. I'd still like to do it. I've still got the yarn for it. That yarn is kind of bookmarked really for that. What was the one last year? I can't remember. It started in the end, like the redesign was like a square and then it sort of radiated out. Can't think what the name was, but that yarn is bookmarked for that. I have ordered yarn. I think I'm going to swatch for it. I don't know whether or not I want more contrast than I've got. But none of the kits this year, there was only one that I particularly liked. There are some really beautiful ones from Stephen and Penelope. I just can't justify shipping, custom, whatever. Like, there are a UK-based one, but there isn't a lot that I've seen yet that I really like. And you could absolutely get away with commercial yarn. You don't need hand-dyed. Sometimes it is better with hand-dyed. So I'm debating whether to... I think I might gauge swatch and just see how I feel about the yarn that I've got, or the yarn that I've ordered. I possibly might consider other options in terms of much stronger contrast. And I might wait and see how that shawl starts looking before I decide whether to go for a high or low contrast. I think I've just waffled. I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is that I may take part in the Stephen West MKAL knit along for the first time. I haven't definitely decided to. And I don't know whether it's something I keep up. I don't think it's something I keep up with, but it is something I'm considering. I'm very aware the lighting has gone really bad. It has been quite grey and cloudy and overcast all day. It looks like it has started to rain, hence the lighting. So I am going to go. Might do some more sewing. Thank you so much for watching. Please do check back next month for September's podcast. Have a great day. Bye.